Norwich 0, Manchester United 1. What did we learn from this game? Before I break it all down, for cheap, good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfifa.com. A link will be left in the description and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL to get 5% off. So this was a typical style of game that we have seen Manchester United struggling over the past few seasons or so under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. United have consistently had problems with breaking down sides who drop deep and sit in a vertically and horizontally compact defensive unit. This is exactly what we saw Norwich do in this game. They dropped into a 4-5-1 shape with a flat midfield 5, with Norwich's two wide midfielders being instructed to follow United's fullbacks as they advanced up the pitch. In possession, United's 4-2-2 system became a 2-4-2-2 shape in the middle third, and as they advanced up the pitch into Norwich's half, we would see United push into more of a 2-4-4 shape, with the front four of Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes being given the freedom to either sit high up the pitch, looking to make runs in behind, pull out wide or pull into the space between the lines. And for most of the game, and certainly at the start of the game, we would see Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes positioned in those half spaces. See, with Fred and McTominay sitting deep in central midfield, a lot of the game was being played through the centre of the pitch, and it was almost like a pinball game where McTominay and Fred and even Maguire and Lindelof coming forward with the ball would have to try and play these sharp quick passes, trying to evade the Norwich interceptors, which were the central midfielders, and play sharp passes into the space between them, trying to get the ball into Bruno Fernandes and Jadon Sancho so they could turn and move on to the Norwich back line. Since Rangnick has came in, I have started to see United circulate the ball a lot more efficiently than they were doing under Solskjaer. Under Solskjaer, the play was very lethargic, lots of sideways passes. Eventually the ball would end up at one of the fullbacks, and that's where the attack would break down. The opposition side would force a backward pass, but in this game we did see a lot more forward passing, and for all the criticism he gets, I think McTominay was very good in this game, both defensively, putting in tackles, which is important for the counter press, which I'll come on to in a bit more detail in a minute. But when he was winning possession, he immediately looked for a forward pass, and oftentimes with the Norwich midfield out of position, he was able to play this forward pass and get the ball into the likes of Fernandes, Sancho and Rashford to drive the attack forward. And this is what the GEGEN-PRESSing, counter-pressing style is all about. A lot of people will associate quick transition in attacks and counter-attacks in particular with only being effective when playing against a side who is going to have more possession than you and takes up the role of the aggressor throughout the game when you're looking to exploit the space that they leave. However, a counter-press can be just as effective against a side like Norwich who were sitting deep, and we saw United almost take advantage of this on a few occasions. So the main feature of the GEGEN-PRESS is the intense pressure as soon as the ball is lost. What this does is it attacks the opposition in possession when they are most vulnerable, which is when they've just won the ball and they haven't got it fully under control and players aren't in their set positions. This transition between defensive and offensive shape can take just a few seconds because players know exactly what they're meant to do now with and without the ball, so they can quickly flip in and out, moving into their position as soon as they win the ball back. But this almost helps the GEGEN-PRESS become an offensive weapon. As opposition players are moving to receive the ball, they tend to push up the field and stretch out, and so the aim is to apply the pressure to the player on the ball, forcing him into an inaccurate pass or an accurate pass into a player who's ready to be pressed. Because everyone in the team is on the same wavelength in terms of their pressing, it's not just the front line that moves to press aggressively, the midfield line also pushes up to apply the man-to-man pressure, and you can almost think of the GEGEN-PRESS as a trap, baiting the opposition to play a pass into a dangerous central area, trying to win the ball back in this position, and then when the ball has been won back, which we did see Fred and especially McTominay in this game do quite frequently, they can look for a quick vertical pass into one of the players in close proximity. Because the front four of Jadon Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford and Ronaldo have taken up advanced central positions, when the ball is won back, they're already in the perfect position to counter-attack. And in the first half, United created their best opportunity from this type of counter-press. So this all stems from United's high pressing. You can see here McTominay's pushed up from the midfield line onto Norwich's deeper line midfielder, cutting out that short pass from the centre-back. Ronaldo is closing the right-sided centre-back down, but positioning himself in a way that cuts off the pass to the left-sided centre-back, almost shutting off the whole left side and forcing Norwich down their right side. Because all passing options are gone, we see Norwich go long. The ball goes into Pukki, but eventually, because United have a high back line, Maguire is able to make the interception. The ball goes into Fred, and now because Norwich are out of position, they had taken up their advanced positions when they had the ball, it's hard for them to get back into shape. And because United look to play quickly, vertically forward through the centre of the pitch, rather than looking for sideways passes, Fred plays the ball into McTominay, and now he can drive forward, and we see Ronaldo making this peeling run away from the centre back into the space that's been vacated. McTominay's forward thinking skills come into play here. He recognises the opportunity. The weight on the through ball for for Ronaldo is perfect, and unfortunately he can't really get the ball out of his feet, and a left-footed shot in the end is saved by Krul. But it was probably United's best opportunity of the first half, and it came from the counter-press being used as an offensive weapon. Despite dominating possession, United weren't really able to create anything of substance, going in at half-time with an XG of just 0.47 to Norwich's 0.20. Now, while I did think that in certain areas United did need a lot more creativity from individual players, such as when the two centre-backs had the ball and were able to dribble forward wide of the centre-forward Pukki, because obviously as Norwich sit in a 4-5-1 shape, it was quite easy for United to shift the ball around Pukki and have Lindelof or Maguire drive forward with the ball, and because Norwich were quite reserved in their pressing, often one of their central midfielders would not leave the midfield line to apply the pressure, instead preferring to hold his position and stop the space opening up between the midfield and defensive lines. But this did mean that Lindelof and Maguire had a lot of time on the ball, and it's this sort of area on the pitch in possession that sides are starting to see as a potential offensive weapon, and more specifically as a way of progressing the ball into the final third. This is a main reason why Guardiola does like to use inverted fullbacks, and particularly we've seen with João Cancelo over the last season or so, but particularly this season, that he comes into these narrow positions playing almost as a quarterback, taking up that inverted role almost as a right-sided centre-back or as a right-sided defensive midfielder, and from here he can use his passing range to receive the ball, turn out and play forward passes. If Cancelo was to pull out wider, he'd have less passing options when he receives the ball, and if he pushes up into the space between the midfield and defensive lines, he's in closer proximity to the opposition's players, and therefore when he receives the ball he's going to have less time, which is less time to get the ball out of his feet, look for a pass and then play that pass. So it's better to have him in these deeper positions where he can get on the ball more, get the ball out of his feet and play those progressive passes to move the ball into the final third or even create chances himself. This is what Maguire and Lindelof could have done better in this game, in my opinion. They were a bit too hesitant to look for these incisive passes into players between the lines, or look for a long pass to switch play and move the attack forward. And this is why we have seen managers like Pep Guardiola spend so much on ball playing centre-backs, though to be fair to Maguire and Lindelof, they do have the ability to do this, with Maguire's ball carrying ability and long passing being pretty decent, and Lindelof having good passing ability as well, so it may take him a while to get used to this style of play. But like we saw with McTominay, I think Rangnick will be able to get the mentality of forward quick vertical passes into these players, and players won't have to think twice about it in the coming weeks. But it is a new style of play, so they do have to get used to it. But to be fair to United, their problem wasn't getting the ball into the final third, their problem was creating when they got the ball there. But before I go any further, I have set up a Patreon where for £5 a month, each week you'll get 2 extra videos, one Manchester United video and the other video will be voted on by Patreons on whichever topic they like. And you'll also get a weekly newsletter as well, where I discuss all the different things in football that week that I'm not able to make videos about. So if you do want some more exclusive content and you want to help support the channel, you can click the link in the description and sign up to my Patreon. It will help support this channel and will be very much appreciated. United did an excellent job of sustaining their attacks, because whenever Norwich won the ball, the counter-pressing kicked in, United were able to close down their options and force them into a wayward pass and win possession back and then launch another attack. But the problem they had was when they got to the box and Norwich's midfield would drop back, and they essentially had about 6, 7 or even 8 players around a small area, and it was just too congested for United to work the ball in. And so we did see players like Sancho, Fernandes and Rashford get on the ball but in wide positions and often look for passes backwards, not being able to create from these positions. But I think United's lack of ability to create chances was an individual problem rather than a systemic problem. See, whenever the ball went into one of the front four, it seemed that they were on a different wavelength and their movements weren't coordinated, which led to a lot of hesitant movement and passes played behind certain players. And even though he has been playing well since he came back from injury, I thought Marcus Rashford's decision making in terms of his weight of pass and the pass he picks and when to play that pass was particularly poor in this game. A lot of attacks broke down with him running with the ball and playing the wrong pass or playing the pass at the wrong time. But this is another aspect of Rangnick's system that United do need to get used to, because the movement is very central. There is less margin for error because obviously in tighter spaces you need to be more accurate with your passes and a lot quicker with your movement, and this as of yet United haven't really developed into their game, but this is what Rangnick will definitely be working on along with their counter press. But United did go on to win this game, and overall if you do look at the XG, they did deserve it. They did record an XG of just over 2 goals in this game compared compared to Norwich's 0.99. And so even though United did win through a penalty by Ronaldo, I do think they deserved the victory just about, but this game does highlight the issues that United are going to continue to face, even with Rangnick in charge. But this game also showed that United's out of possession, counter-pressing style is a lot further developed than their in-possession style, and they do seem to be adapting to that counter-pressing system. And McTominay in particular I thought was very impressive in this game. He seems to be adding those forward passes to his game gradually. He does need to improve that, but in terms of his ability to break up play in the middle of the park, he was very good in this game. So that was my analysis of this Manchester United game. If you want exclusive content, sign up to my Patreon. I've got 2 Manchester United themed videos out on there now, but also if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notified when I release videos. Also go to the description to check out some other videos that I think you may like as well.